A couple weeks ago, Nintendo released the Switch 2, along with the only launch title, Mario Kart World. Wait, what about Welcome Tour? Shut up, shh, that doesn't exist. Anyway, with the release of Mario Kart World, I wanted to take a deeper look at these tracks and see how many of them would be possible to drive on in real life. Like, imagine if Nintendo wanted to have some crazy promotion for the game and made all of these tracks in real life. I want to see how many of them would be drivable by a normal real-life car. By normal car, I'm talking about what you'd see on the road if you were to just go out and drive, like Hondas, Toyotas, and whatever regular people have. Not Hondas like this, you know what I mean. At this point, I've done this with every other Mario Kart game in the series, and it was pretty easy for the most part. I would just play through Grand Prix and then go track by track, but this game was a little different and controversial. If you haven't heard yet, in Mario Kart World, the Grand Prix mode has these connecting sections that take you from track to track in this game. This is an interesting way of making Grand Prix unique or whatever, but for this video, I want to be focusing on the actual tracks themselves. Another thing about Grand Prix is that Peach Stadium and Crown City appear twice. For both of these tracks, I'm just going to focus on the version that's in Versus mode because, for one, it makes it easier to talk about, but also, I want to forget that this abomination exists. When I'm talking about these tracks for the video though, I'm going to be talking about them in Grand Prix order just to, organize them better, but to be clear, I'm just talking about the regular versions in Versus mode. So, how about we get started and just jump into the first cup? Just like every Mario Kart game before, and probably until the end of time, the first cup in this game is Mushroom Cup. The first track of this game is Mario Bros. Circuit, and this is a pretty good introduction to the brand new rail grinding mechanic that's in this game. Now, it's pretty obvious that you can't just take a Prius to a skate park and go Tony Hawk mode, but I like the mechanic, so I wanted to at least mention it at some point in this video. Towards the end of this track, you take this kind of sloped turn, but it doesn't look like it's enough to really affect the track's possibility. So yeah, other than that, this is just some nice old-fashioned flat road, so we have our first possible track. Next is Crown City, and I'll be covering Crown City here and not in Shell Cup because, why not? All 3 laps of this track take different routes throughout the city. I don't think I said this in the intro, but if just one lap isn't possible for a car to drive on in real life, then that means the whole track is impossible. Basically, a track has to be drivable from start to finish. Anyway, the first lap is pretty chill. I mean, we're just driving through a city here, so come on, I think cars are kind of made for that. The second lap is a little more interesting to race on because you're jumping from roof to roof here. This is super cool, but there is no way a real life is making all these jumps and just making it out okay, so this track is impossible. Whistle Stop Summit is actually a better intro to the rail grinding mechanic, so forget whatever that idiot said earlier about Mario Bros. Circuit. But anyway, actually just like Mario Bros. Circuit, if you just don't grind on the rails at all, it's just a wide open road that you could just totally drive on in real life. So yeah, this one's definitely possible. The final stop of Mushroom Cup is DK Spaceport. This track is filled with references to the old Donkey Kong arcade machines where you have to avoid barrels and there's these flaming guys or whatever. This would be kind of hard to see if maybe a car could squeeze through all of these things and maybe make it through. Luckily though, for me anyway, all of that doesn't really matter because at the start of the track, your kart literally grows wings and starts flying over this water section, which is actually something a Ford Focus can't do. So this track is 100% impossible. For our first track of Flower Cup, we have Desert Hills, which is probably the least expected track to return in this game. I'm surprised how much they changed this track, and now there really aren't that many hills. More like desert bumps. Am I right, guys? The track itself is just a flat-ish sandy road, and I didn't mention this in the intro, but for the most part, I'm not taking into consideration the terrain of any of these tracks. Sometimes real-life cars get stuck in sand, and then sometimes they don't, so I'm just gonna ignore the fact that this is in the desert. The track also has this little jump in the middle. Luckily, it's pretty easy to tell that you aren't jumping over anything, so you can just slowly drive over the ramp, making it completely fine. With all that together, it's pretty easy to say that this track is fully possible. Our next stop is Shy Guy Bazaar. This is such a cool time trial track. First of all, I love seeing the Twitter videos and stuff. It's pretty simple to see that this one is impossible though. I mean, look at this. There's just no way. Wario Stadium is third here, and finally this track made it off the N64. They modified it to make it much shorter, and now you can actually trick and ride on walls and stuff. Right before the final turn, there's this huge jump where you jump over what looks like a massive running engine or something. The engine isn't something you could drive on with a car, and the jump would just destroy a car, especially if you do this 3 times in one race, so yeah, this one doesn't pass. The final track of this cup is Airship Fortress. I knew at least one thing from this video would be right. Now, while my driving on this track may suck, I still do love racing on this track. That's obviously impossible in real life. Like, yeah, I mean, duh, look. The Ice Cup, Star Cup in this game is pretty cool. You know, because, all the ice tracks? But anyway, to start out this ice track trend, we have DK Pass, which is actually a retro from the DS. The theme of this track is a road up into the mountains mixed with this snowboard resort type thing. On the way up, it's just a nice mountain road, so there's nothing to worry about there. On the way down, there are a few jumps that you go over while you race this track normally. But if we take a closer look, we can actually see that these jumps aren't over anything, so if you were to take these really, really slow, you could just drive over them. So yeah, DK Pass passes. Did I make that joke in the DS video? Our next stop is Starview Peak. This one fully reminds me of Ice Ice Outpost from 8 Deluxe with the whole green and yellow path thing. Just like Ice Ice Outpost, this one has a huge jump that would be impossible for any regular car to do, so this one doesn't pass. Our third destination is Sky High Sundae. I mean, look at this just from the starting line. Just no shot anyone has any chance with this massive gap. The final track of this cup is Wario Shipyard. This track is a lot different than the original Mario Kart 7. In this game, they for real had to change it though, because in this game there isn't underwater driving like there was in 7. Instead, in this game, they have the carts ride the waves like little jet skis. So while this is pretty cool, I wouldn't consider cars that turn into boats regular cars. And with basically this whole track taking place on the high seas, it's pretty obvious that this one would be impossible. Now we have Shell Cup. This will be by far the shortest section of the video because 2 of the tracks that are in this Grand Prix come up again later and I'm using them in those Grand Prix, so this one just doesn't have that many tracks. The first of the 2 tracks in this cup is Koopa Troopa Beach. It's actually a remake of Koopa Beach 2 from the SNES, but they changed the name for some reason. Probably because they wanted to make this whole world type thing, and having numbers in the names of places would just be weird. The track is really not complicated, it's just a circle where you drive on the beach. The water you drive in is like an inch deep, so that doesn't really have an effect on you, so yeah, this one is just obviously possible. Faraway Oasis is our next stop, and this is an absolutely beautiful track. One of the most memorable parts of any track in this game is here, in the waterfall section. In order to get to that part of the track though, you have to drive through like a million miles of water and take like a huge jump, so this one is obviously impossible. Banana Cup opens up with a new rendition of Peach Beach. It's called Peach Beach, but really just the first lap is Peach Beach, the rest of the track is completely different. After the first lap, every Mario Kart Double Dash player gets their world turned upside down as they take a left turn on Peach Beach. After some driving in this city area, there's like this 4-story drop-off where you're supposed to jump, and yeah, we aren't doing that in a regular car, so this one is impossible. Salty Salty Speedway is like a nice drive through the Venice canals, or whatever they're called. Pretty cool idea for a track, but obviously not possible for a regular car, so we can honestly just move on. Dino Dino Jungle is next up, and honestly, this cup is a pretty big win for all the Double Dash fans out there. I'm just kidding. I know there's a lot of you guys out there. Anyway, this version of the track has real dinosaurs in it, rather than the animatronic looking ones in the original. If you were to drive this track like a sensible, rational person, they shouldn't be a problem because you could just avoid them. The only other questionable part is this little jump here, and while yeah, this wouldn't be the best thing for your car to jump over, I don't think it would total the car, and since I think the car would survive this, I think that means that this track is possible. Last up, we have Great Question Block Ruins. This track might be the coolest one to watch people just race on it. I think that's really awesome, but part of the reason why that is the way that it is the sheer number of jumps littered throughout the entire track. So while it could be the coolest in this game, it definitely isn't the most possible in this game. For Leaf Cup, we start out by taking our talents to South Beach, or more like East River. Why don't I just say we're going to Cheap Cheap Falls? You can kind of tell by the name, this one's gonna have some water. And yeah, at least it's pretty obvious that this one's impossible. Dandelion Depths is a really cool track, and it kind of reminds me of the Wooded Kingdom in Mario Odyssey. But this time, instead of deep woods, it's this water collection area. In this area, you have to drive on some pretty deep water, so we have another one that obviously doesn't pass. Boo Cinema is a really cool theme for a track. A haunted movie theater is just such an interesting idea. I was worried I would have to figure out how going through a haunted movie screen would translate to real life, but luckily for me, there's this huge glider jump, so this one is obviously impossible. The last stop for Leaf Cup is Dry Bones Burnout. This is some good PR for the Dry Bones name after they made a horrible Dry Bones track in the last game. This track is unique, fun, and exciting. Oh, and did I forget that it's impossible in real life? I mean, look at this huge jump over lava. There's actually just no way. Lightning Cup goes back to Mario Kart Wii and starts out with Moo Moo Meadows. This rendition is a little different with the placement of the off-road, and the shape of the track is a little wonky, but it's basically the same simple drive through some farmland, so it is fully possible. The next retro track in this cup is Choco Mountain. They added a bunch of charging chucks and mud everywhere on this track. This honestly feels like a brand new track to the series, but it's actually a retro. At the end of the track, there's this massive drop-off that is completely unavoidable though, so this one is impossible. Toad's Factory really needed to get retroed. I mean, it never made it off the Wii until now, and it was just too great to just be left on there. Just like Choco Mountain, near the end of the track there's this pretty big drop-off. This one isn't as huge, but I still think it's a little too big for a real-life car to be able to just make it out fine, especially doing it 3 times over the course of a race, so this one doesn't pass. The final track of Lightning Cup is Bowser's Castle. This is a top 3 Bowser's Castle ever for me, and I absolutely love the design of this track, but is it possible to drive on in real life? Nope, 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 and maybe another nope. Now we're on to the last cup of the video, and our first race is at Acorn Heights. I mean, close enough. Welcome back, Maple Treeway. This track is awesome, and I mean, the Maple Treeway comparison really isn't that far off, especially with this huge glider section near the start of the track. So, just like Maple Treeway, this track is impossible. Next up, we have Mario Circuit. This track is a mashup of the first 3 Mario Circuits, and you race 1 lap on each of them. Yep, that's right, Mario Circuit 3 is back. Yay, everyone asked for this one. Mario Circuits are usually really basic, so you think that this track being a mashup of just 3 of them would make it possible, right? Nope, there's a jump that would probably wreck a normal car, so this one doesn't pass either. Our third stop is Peach Stadium. This track is really sick, and I don't know why they made everyone's first impression of this track this monstrosity. But anyway, the regular version of this track has some really steep sections, and I was honestly wondering if a car could even get up this steep track. Well, that question doesn't really matter because you're going up this steep section just to do a series of jumps that are definitely impossible in real life. The last stop of Special Cup and this video is Rainbow Road, and first of all, wow! The moment when you land on the track and your map updates in Grand Prix and you see how big this behemoth is so amazing. Then towards the end when you get to look back at the track you just drove on and it's like, whoa, that's so sick. Oh, and I mean, this one is definitely impossible in real life. Like, I don't even think I have to really explain. And that was every track in Mario Kart World that is possible to drive on in real life. If you like this video, please like it. It would really help me out. In the end, we found that only 7 of the 30 tracks in this game are possible to drive on in real life. And here are the stats if you want to see them. The fact that less than 30% of these tracks are possible in real life is kind of crazy to me. I thought that since they removed the underwater driving that there would be more possible tracks, but no. This game is already in my top 2 Mario Karts of all time, and I can't wait to keep making videos about this game, so subscribe if you want to see that. Also, I will still be making videos about all the other random stuff I like to make videos about. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.